Let's just dive right into this explainer. Today, we're tracking a story that honestly feels like an anime underdog plot. What we're looking at is the culmination of 6 straight months of intense AI collaboration, all driven by a guy named John Stokes. John was a postgraduate computing student back in 1997, but his career derailed, and he never actually made it into the industry. Now, he's using the sheer power of freemium and free mode AI assistants to stage what might just be the comeback of all time. We're going to break down exactly how he engineered this massive return from the ground up, focusing on his wild architecture shift and where this is all heading. To really grasp the sheer scale of this comeback, you just have to look at this number, 25. For 25 long years, John was laying concrete blocks. His life got completely derailed from a highly elite path in computer science. And 25 years in tech, that's not just a long time, it's a literal epoch. We're talking about the gap between dial-up internet and generative AI. It's a conceptually massive chasm, meaning the bridge he's building here is just unimaginably huge. He was away from the keyboard for a quarter of a century. As John himself puts it, in 1997, I was coding in assembly, C, and Java. Then, real-life tragedy struck. A devastating family situation basically forced him to abandon his post-grad studies just to keep a roof over his family's head. He literally had to trade his compilers for concrete. But here's the absolute game changer that sets up his entire modern architecture. As a natural systems architect, his mind never actually shut off. An architect's brain is always optimizing, right? So even while he was doing heavy manual labor, he was structuring complex systems purely in his head. He just didn't have the digital outlet for it.
Okay, let's look at Section 1, the silent architect, a mind always designing. So back in his college days, John was top tier when it came to the fundamentals. He naturally thought in elegant, high-level, object-oriented paradigms. We're talking an A-grade student in object classification, assembly, and C++. He had this masterclass grip on deep, foundational computer science logic. But imagine stepping out of the Kai machine from 1997 into today's dev environment. The modern web with its sprawling microservices, endless APIs, crazy networking protocols. To him, it was a totally impenetrable alien landscape. He had the architectural blueprint locked in his head, sure, but absolutely none of the modern vocabulary to actually talk to the machines.
Moving on to Section 2, bridging the tech gap. AI as the equalizer.
Fast forward to early 2026, the AI explosion hits, and John has an absolute lightbulb moment. This comparison brilliantly illustrates his entire strategy. He leans hard into his natural strengths, master logic and problem statement analysis. He is the senior architect here. But remember how modern networking was completely alien to him? Well, fun fact, he actually got a D grade in networking back in college. So, instead of trying to memorize 25 years of syntax, he uses free-tier AI models like Claude and Gemini as his personal junior network technicians. The AI handles all the messy communications, API endpoints, and boilerplate code that he always hated. He dictates the high-level architecture, and the AI types out the modern syntax. It is a perfect, seamless symbiosis.
All right, Section 3, the zero capital cluster, building on broken tech.
Now, what's truly staggering about John's journey over these last 6 months isn't just the clever AI stuff. It's the incredibly gritty, zero-budget reality of his hardware setup. When you look at his inventory, you won't find any shiny new MacBooks or expensive cloud servers here. John is orchestrating a complex, multi-agent distributed system across a busted 4GB Dell laptop with a completely dead battery running Linux Mint. He's got a budget TCL phone acting as an active node, and get this, a shattered Samsung Galaxy that he revived just by plugging in an old gaming mouse through a USB adapter. Oh, and he records his progress using a cheap little V8S podcasting box from Temu. It proves a massive, high-level engineering principle. Profound architecture can run on absolute garbage hardware, just so long as the underlying logic is perfectly sound.
Which brings us to Section 4, Exo Core 26 Architecture Shift, Task to Implementation.
So running on this crazy ragtag cluster is his masterpiece, Exo Core 26. We've got to walk through the intense friction of this architecture shift, because the timeline is just monumental. Back in January, it started as basic exploratory AI chats, literally a 1997 coder asking a 2026 machine how the digital world works now. But by mid-April, he hit this massive breakthrough with Notebook LM. By grounding the AI purely in his own complex architectural notes, he stopped treating it like a fancy search engine and started using it as a compiler for his own thoughts. He went from mapping basic directory intent in April to engineering a fully distributed, event-driven orchestration layer by June. This is a staggering leap in systems engineering. He went from simple chat windows to a live, local network autonomously passing tasks between broken phones and a busted laptop.
The contrast here is just beautiful. On one hand, you have his physical, handwritten development logs, meticulously drawn out in pen on lined paper. And on the other, you have the highly digital, distributed architecture that it ultimately birthed. You are quite literally watching the silent architect conceptualize raw systems logic on paper long before a single line of modern code ever hits his terminal. Honestly, this is exactly how a foundational systems thinker operates when they're transitioning back into a purely digital realm. Now, John is incredibly self-aware. He knows his own weaknesses. Like any natural architect, his mind loves to overcomplicate systems. He describes it perfectly as falling towards the Planck scale. Getting so deeply lost in abstract, microscopic details and endless optimization that absolutely nothing actually gets built. To stop himself from doing this, he engineered what he calls a cybernetic governance loop. Think of it as a strict workflow firebreak. Every single day, he has to define his tasks in his system database. If he gets a new idea or writes a clever piece of code, but it doesn't map directly to that pre-declared daily goal, the system literally halts him from engineering it. It's just a brilliant mechanical way to anchor his focus and dodge that classic developer trap of infinite over-engineering. This strict governance feeds directly into his core pattern. He forces every single raw idea through a rigorous 3-step cycle. Step 1 is simulation, where the concept is logically mapped out in his head and on paper. Step 2 is assimilation, where he synthesizes that high-level map into actionable logic with his AI systems. And Step 3 is implementation, where it actually executes as functional real-world code across his fragmented network of broken nodes. The cycle is completely unbroken and totally systematic. Let's look at Section 5, 3 Pillars, the Passive Income Factory. So, where is this Exocore 26 setup ultimately heading? Well, Exocore isn't just some fun weekend hobby. It's a factory designed for actual survival. John is using this distributed system to autonomously generate 3 specific pillars of passive income. First up, native Android apps deployed directly to his smashed Samsung test environment. Second, highly detailed educational ebooks teaching others his exact architectural methods. And third, narrated YouTube devlogs documenting his journey as a zero-budget developer. The absolutely crucial takeaway here is that he isn't just manually building individual products one by one. No, he has engineered a self-sustaining machine that builds the products for him. Right now, his entire mission is migrating from what he calls conceptual noisiness to lucid generalization. In practical terms, that means he is officially moving past the theory phase. He's stripping out dummy data, pulling live operational logs directly from his daily workflow, and forcing actual automated code deployments across his network. He is executing. After 25 years in the wilderness, laying concrete and dreaming in C++, a failed postgrad from 1997 is successfully fighting his way back into industry relevance, armed with nothing but pure, foundational logic and free AI. It's just wild.
Which leaves us with a really powerful, honestly challenging thought to close out this explainer. John Stokes used a shattered phone, a laptop with a dead battery, and free-tier AI to reclaim a technical destiny that was 25 years in the making. He built an entire distributed network on broken tech. So, what could you build if you stopped making excuses about your resources?